pass the voice to you.
Thank you, Violetta, and hi everybody. Yeah, so stories is the subject for today, and I will not maybe go to the framework of storytelling and storytelling workshop and storytelling tools, but rather have something much more important for you guys. And that is kind of the ground and the base on which our stories stand on. And I'm going to talk about that. So the power of storytelling and and the importance of stories. The stories, of course, they are really important because we build our life view with stories. So we have told stories around the campfire and, drawn stories to the cave walls. And it has been the number one way to pass information through generations. Before we learned to write, we didn't have any other means. So that's why our brains are tuned to stories. We love to tell them and we love to listen to stories. And also brain scientists, they have researched and they have found that we really use the same, it triggers the same part of brain where most of our decisions are made. And that's the brainstem and amygdala, which are kind of in the lower parts of the brain, which maybe you have even heard to be called lizard brain. But yeah, not all of the decisions are made there, but many. And if you want to influence your audience, of course, it's really good to understand what is the power of stories. So we have always needed stories, and we will need stories in order to survive. And they also, stories, they affect our culture. And there is a Hopi Indian proverb which says that those who tell the stories rule the world. And Plato has been told to say those who tell the stories rule the society. So in that sense, it is important. And I think that we have also this kind of collective consciousness, collective field of stories where we live and that's kind of all the politics and all the things that are going around, like news and so on. They are part of this storytelling culture. And also how our mind works as individuals. It's like we learn by stories, and we have in our brain this repository of stories. So like if you see a snake looking thing, you go like make a Google search in your brain and you search for similar kind of things that you have seen before. And even if it's not a snake, you might get a bit scared because you know that you need to be cautious when you see it. And there is a really good TED talk about this. Lisa Feldman Barrett tells how this works and how actually our emotions are made. So it's just right that way, that we go into the repository and we get the memory, the thought, the story from there, and then the feeling arises. And it's always that way. There is first the trigger for the thought, and that triggers the emotion. Christina is coming. I was thinking that you see that, Violetta, but you obviously couldn't. Good. Yeah, so that's the way our emotions are actually born. And I was, when I was preparing for this, actually yesterday in our group, somebody asked that she's having a crisis, and she wants to have help for, you know, this confidence crisis. And what she was telling was that I will never be what I want to be. I am, and I speak, all I am and all I speak is wrong, and I'm not feeling confident, and I'm not comfortable somewhere where I want to be comfortable, and I'm comfortable somewhere where I don't want to be. It feels like, you know, you are in a wrong place, and feeling really uncomfortable. But when we see somebody speak like that, and we're listening to someone telling that, it's so easy to see that it's just a story that they are running in their heads. But when it's in our own head, it's so near that it's really hard to, you know, see that that's just a story. And all these stories, they are just made of thought. And it's so compelling, you know, when it's near, it's so compelling to go with the story and believe in it. But it's just a thought. And stories and thought, they are like a double-edged sword. So at the best, we need them. They, you know, help us make sense of all of this, and they form our culture, and they give us an understanding of important things and show us the vision for the future, you know, where we want to go. And they inspire and even make us move mountains. And, you know, they turn things. If you have a thought that I want to create something, you see it in your mind, and then it comes out as a pen or as a glass or something else. But at their worst, of course, the stories, they scare us, and they paralyze us, and they make us do bad stuff, and they are so wrong that they might even make us believe that some things like violence and war are just things to do. Yeah, as you remember, I have been talking about, and I think that there are some areas in our lives where we really need better stories collectively, and one of them is climate crisis. And the way, the doom and gloom way that we are talking about the climate crisis is not really working. And what's wrong with that story is that it's like only a half a story, because stories always have happy endings. And if you want to have a visionary story, you need to tell the happy ending to your audience. Without the happy ending, if you have probably been watching some movies, and if you watch a movie with you know, unhappy ending, it really doesn't feel that nice. And that's why there aren't many movies, because we want to, you know, we want to see the same story again and again and again, and we want to have the happy ending for the story. So and also, if you think about the climate crisis and the movies, you know, what we have, there is this one hero who is saving the world, and it's really hard for us to see ourselves as being that one person. So rather, what we need is stories of just people like us taking small steps and saving the planet that way. So small steps which move mountains. But let's go to the power of thought and stories in our own mind for a while. And I hope you can see my flip chart. So like in that person's story, that I want to be somewhere, I'm never gonna be there, and my business is never going to be like I want it to be. So that is that we have the now, and we have our now business. So we have the, you know, our mind and our vision of where we are going, the direction. We have the services part, and then we have the story part in my house metaphor. And then, you know, we might be thinking that in the future I will have something, you know, much bigger. I will have a many story house, and I will have these different offerings, and I will have, you know, much more customers and much more money, and money is coming from the windows and doors, and it will be different, and, you know, I will be more appreciated, more abundant, more loved, and so on. And this is usually what kind of how we see world, isn't it? And of course, if we see our world like this, it means that there is this future which is better. More money, more abundance, more love, all of that stuff is somewhere in the future, but now I'm here and I don't have that. So that makes it that this current setting is bad, somehow worse than the future is. And I have, you know, here I have like yesterday, I have some thoughts, stories, which, you know, trigger some emotions, which are not feeling so good. But in the future, I will have better thoughts and different emotions, better emotions. And maybe even I will, you know, be some different person. So I have a different identity. It's many times when we think like that, it even, you know, feels that I'm not the same person anymore. I will be someone different. I have achieved something, and I'm not the same person anymore. But if you think about, you know, all the things that you have ever achieved, something big like you have graduated, or you started your own business, or you got a really nice job, or whatever. Did any of this actually change? Did your thoughts change that dramatically? Did your stories change of yourself? Did your emotions change? Or did your identity change? Who wants to say? Gemma is nodding.
I think the story changed. I don't know if your ID changes, but the story that you've told, that you're telling yourself in order to get from bad to good has to change. Otherwise, I'm trying to think this one through. I think the story changes, but I'm sure you're going to tell me why.
Yeah, it could change, and we could see ourselves, you know, in a better light. So in that sense, it might change, but it might too be that when you have, you know, when you have graduated, you are having the same kind of things going on in your head. There is the next thing and the next thing and the next thing that you need to do. And it's always going to be like that. There's always going to be thought, and there's always going to be stories. And that's something important to understand. I think that it doesn't, we think that it goes away, and it's somehow easier there, but it's never easier. It's always the same. But the important thing is that it's all thought. So this thing here in the middle, that's kind of, you know, prohibiting us, or it's like we have this obstacle that we need to go across in order for us to get from here to that place. it's actually also just thought and stories. So we have this thought of, you know, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not smart enough, I'm not confident enough, you know, I need to have more education, I need to go and get this certification or that, you know, training, or I need to have different kinds of friends or whatever it is. But it's just thought. It's these stories that we tell ourselves. It's nothing else.
It just reminds me of when I went for a promotion, really. And I'd been a sort of a bog standard teacher for a while, and then put in for promotion to run a 40-40 place nursery, and I got the job. And the first position that I had as a teacher was a stretch zone. But when I went into the next one, boy, was that a huge stretch zone. So I had to change. I had to change my thinking, and I had to upgrade it really to some extent, and to convince myself that I was more responsible and I had to show up better. To some extent, if you lead to some extent by example. So my thought patterns had to change to go with that, you know, so that I could then accommodate the position that I'd gone for. So, you know, thinking about that, yeah, I'd gone from a small stretch zone into this story that I was telling myself, now I have a position, now I have to do da, 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 da. I have to show up as a leader. And that pushed me again into that next piece, which was bringing me all the assets that I wanted, but was pushing me into a big stretch zone.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, Christine. I will put this. I have this. Maybe you will see me a bit better. That's a really good insight. Also, that in order for you to change a bit, you needed to take action. Also, so it's not like if you just try to change the story, like it would change. What is actually needed, and what is the highest form of storytelling, I think, is action. That we take action. And if we just, you know, stay here thinking like we many times do, nothing is going to happen. But we need to take action, and that's the only way for us to move ahead and be, you know, move from here to here. And we are always, you know, capable of moving. It might be just that this, what we see, the vision that we see, is not actually what's going to happen, but it's something else. Like we are now in here, in now, and then we see the future somewhere like here. And if we kind of lock this future too hard, then we are going to miss a lot of things, because none of this yet exists, and we don't actually know what is on the way. So I always tell my clients to, you know, hold the vision really lightly, because there might be even a better vision, better place than this that you are seeing now. And that's also how it is. So if this vision, then now it really doesn't exist, and we don't know what it is. It's also, you know, it's made of beliefs and stories and thoughts and dreams, and it's an illusion. It's actually an illusion, and all of our thoughts, all of the stories and thoughts are illusions, but it's not that easy to see that they are. again, because we are so near. So if you, it's really funny if you think about like an example like this. If you have a child and the child is, you know, coming crying from her room that mommy, there is a boogie, or there is a, you know, ghost underneath my bed or something like that. Obviously, you instantly you can say that, no, that's not true. It's, you know, let's go and take a look. There's nothing there. But then if you are alone in a dark alley, or you are in a cottage in the woods, you know, and then you start hearing things, you might go with your thought, but many adults can say that, no, there's nothing actually, there is nothing there and I'm safe. But the nearer we come to our like work and occupation and the identity, then it's harder to see that the stories we are telling ourselves are just same kind of thoughts as these previous two. Like I have a colleague who is a trainer and a coach like myself, and she was telling me that I'm really confident and I know who I am, and I'm really good, you know, before an audience when I'm alone. But when another person comes to the room and, you know, runs the training with me, then I start to feel inferior and I'm not so confident anymore, because I start to compare, you know, she's better, she's doing this so much better, but nothing actually happens. You know, it's her, and she used to be confident and she used to think that she is, and she is. Nothing happened. It's just a thought in her mind that changed. She didn't come, you know, less good in what she's doing. And one of the, you know, strongest stories of the power of thought and power of stories I heard from Dicken Pettingers, who told about two of his customers, two young girls who had suffered a really, you know, bad thing in their lives. They had been raped at a really, you know, low age. And the first one, she was saying that this ruined my life. I'm nothing. I can't, you know, I can never do anything. And this is like, it's totally, you know, my life is wasted. But the other one said that, you know, it was just one event. I'm not going to let it ruin my life. I'm going to survive this. So you can see the same, you know, thing outside so differently in the inside, and it's always from the inside that we make this, or you know, how we see the world. So if you think about yourself in the kind of, you know, we come in and out of this confidence, and we in our journey, of course, when we are on our way there to the future, we do have these ups and downs. So if we remember that these downs, they are just thought, they are just imagination, they are just, you know, we are just telling us a story right now, and the story might change in an instant. Like you get a call from somebody and then you're like, yay, it was a customer calling me. So nothing actually happened, you know, which would now make this any different. And if we you know, think also, if we think about the movies and we think what happens in the movies, they are like this, that there are ups and downs. And when we think about the protagonist, we are not thinking that, no, she's not going to make it, she's going to fail. We always think that it's going to end happily. So could we then think ourselves also, when we are here in the low parts, that I'm gonna figure this out. It's gonna pass. I'm gonna figure this out. So rather think about our way to the bright future as a journey, and ourselves as, being there on the wave, on the top of the wave, and just riding that wave.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Because you said that. Did you say that to me, or someone else said that to me in the master mind? But so in relation to like my current valley of like thinking, oh no, because I've just had someone cancel. So the person that was going to come tomorrow that I'd signed up for 3 said not cancel, but they've postponed because of a death in the family, which obviously I gave my condolences to. But it was interesting because I was thinking, okay, here we go again. The low of like, who's gonna come? I don't know anyone. I know some people have signed up, but I don't know them personally. So let's see. But what was interesting is last time I actually feel more calm now, partly because I'm in this group, but last time, and then I was doing some cards because I do like spiritual cards, and I had this vision of me coaching or speaking to a massive audience. And I was thinking, okay, so this is my future. So why was I worrying about now when it's only a few people, when that's in my future? So I just thought that was interesting because yeah, and then when I did get some people come to the session last time, I remember one of my clients was saying about how she is visioning being in front of like worldwide, and I was thinking, wow, I'm attracting people that are thinking the same. So yeah, that's I just thought that was interesting, how if you can hold the vision of what you're going to have, then anything that happens now, it doesn't really matter because, well, I'm going to have that anyway. So this is just part of the story. So
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, and even, that might change, and it's still okay that, you might have even another kind of business someday. But if you think about the here and now, it's always good. It's like, it's nothing really bad is happening. Well, sometimes something happens, if you are in a car crash or something like that. But most of this stuff that's making us feel bad is, made by our imagination. And if somebody doesn't come, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that next week they wouldn't come. It's just that they didn't come now. And what we tend to do, of course, is when something like that happens, is that, oh my God, nobody's coming, nobody's ever coming. But that's that's not true. It's just a story again. It's not true. So I think that, it's always like, even though, you see yourself here with a big audience, you need to feel, you need to build the audience, and it's step by step. We always need to do that. And when we are looking at somebody who has already done it, we can't see this. We can't see how they went through all this, but they had to, because nobody is born with a big audience. It's always the small steps, and there are 2 ways of doing this. You can be really anxious on the way, and you might actually with being anxious, but you might as well be like, happy-go-lucky. I will meet the right persons. I will talk to this and that person. I'm going to enjoy my way there. So which one do you want to choose? And of course, it might be that sometimes you fall here, because that's how our mind works. But the sooner you remember that it's just thought, the sooner you get out of that, anxiety or anxious feeling, and the sooner you are back in the flow. So I have used this metaphor of our mind being like a popcorn machine. So it pops all the time. The thoughts come out in all flavors and all colors, and some of them are even burnt down. And if you start to analyzing these thoughts like popcorns, you're like, oh, I'm having this thought. I want to get rid of this. Is this the right thought, or is this the wrong? Why am I thinking like that? The more you go in there, the more anxious you are. The more you understand that it's just coming out, and seeing that even with the burnt down ones, there might be coming some nice thought there. But if you focus yourself too much in some thought, you're not letting the inspirational better thoughts come. And also one of my friends, a coach also, she had really nice metaphor for our ideas, that kind of the ideas are also these popcorns or like little packages from the universal mind, or the universe, that the universe is sending us. And then we start to analyze them, is this a good idea, or is this not? And she told a story of her friend who had told her that whenever she gets a good, or a business idea, she goes into the Google and Googles it. And if somebody has already done it, then it's like, meh. But, that's how we kill the good ideas. And whereas we should, support them and be really, really happy of having all these good ideas, and not giving too much focus on analyzing and thinking, and because it's not going to get us anywhere. So for now, I was thinking that we could do a really fast kind of, if you can write down now there, when you see yourself here, that you have your now here, and then you have your then there, and there is, you have this some kind of blockage or obstacles, and usually they are kind of, very similar thoughts that come into your mind that are not so helpful. So what is it that you are actually thinking? Because when you, and so many of these thoughts, they are really subconscious, so we don't even notice that we have them. But if you write them down and look at them lightly and say that, is this actually true? Or maybe am I making some assumptions? It might be that you see that it's not true. And what you can also do is, when you have your list of thoughts and stories that you tell yourself, you can turn them around. You can tell yourself something else. Could it be this way? What about if it's like that? And it might be that it's, it doesn't change, but at least you can see that there is another possibility to think some other way. So it's not so easy to change our thinking. But when we remember that all of this stuff, the bad thoughts and the good thoughts, they are made of the same popcorn machine, whatever. It's like the Play-Doh of the universe, actually, something that we can mold. So they are made of the same stuff, and we are in the infinite field of possibilities. We can choose whatever we want to believe in, what kind of stories we want to believe in. It might be that it doesn't come right now, but in the next second, you know, when you're having a conversation with someone, or you listen to a book, or, you know, something happens and the thought turns and it changes. And then it's easier to be. So what you could do is to write down what those thoughts are, and then, you know, the opposite, what it could be. And it could be even 4 different things. It's not always, you know, that one opposite. It could be whatever. Yeah, I guess I have kind of told you all the things that I was planning to, but maybe the most important things is that the more you try to figure out these things, the harder it gets, and the more confused you are, and the more willing you are to just let them go, and, you know, think that, okay, now it's just a day like this, it's gonna pass, the faster you will be again in the right kind of, or better kind of feeling, and in a calmer mind. And as you probably know, the best ideas and inspiration and action, it comes from a calm mind. Like when you're walking, or, you know, jogging, or swimming, or riding your bicycle, or something like that. That's usually when it happens, not when we are, you know, trying to really do it and analyze it. And also it's really, really important to remember how to use stories. So stories, as I said, they are really strong, and we need them. It's not like somebody said, yeah, somebody once said that it would be best to get rid of, you know, all stories and be free of stories. And I have to say, I was thinking like that for many years, but now I have understood that it's not possible. It's not possible for us to be without stories. We need them. We need the vision. We need the shared stories and the shared understanding of things, and we need them to, you know, figure out what's going on in the world. So whatever it is that where you want to go, hold it lightly, but allow yourself to tell yourself stories, bad ones and good ones. Yeah, so that's about what I was thinking to talk, and now it's time for any questions if you have. Or what did you write down?
I wrote down quite a lot, actually, you know, because you came out with some absolutely brilliant one-liners. I thought best inspiration comes from a calm mind, and I love that, you know, because I think it's something that we sometimes forget, that we need to be constantly creating and making. And I like the fact as well that you've allowed for the final vision not to be precise. You know, you've allowed for flexibility, because you cannot predict everything. And the wave that you showed is the one that a lot of people do not see. And without that wave, you don't get to fulfill the vision in exactly the same way, because the wave offers experience. Without the experience, the vision can't come about. So I thought it was a really good analogy, and thank you for that. You know, I found it really interesting. I've got other one-liners that you said that I thought were absolutely brilliant, so I scribbled them down. Small steps move mountains. You know, they are small, small accessible things we can do, and yet we forget about it on a daily basis. every day you've got the possibility of living that vision, of producing that legend that you want to, that legacy that you want to, but you have to do it every day. And that's how it becomes what you want it to be. So I found it really good. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you. Did you have something, Gemma?
Well, I just really like the fluidity and the idea that we're allowed to have stories, good and bad, and it's just being, I think it's about awareness, about recognizing when it's just a story and it's just, it's illusion, it doesn't really exist, but we need, so I don't know if you've read A Course in Miracles, but I study A Course in Miracles, and one thing it talks about, it says that the whole world's illusion, or like in our thoughts and mind, because we make up these stories about the world. But what it does say is that, well, it talks in religious terms, but it's not religious, but it talks about the Holy Spirit is like the bridge. So you go from the unholy relationship to the holy relationship, or you go from the upsetting dream to the good dream. So it's like, no, the happy dream. So it's like we get given these people in our lives, like mentors and coaches, and it's like the stories are all about, like, the hero will meet a sage in the story that helps them get to the next stage of their journey. So when we have in our lives, we will get given different mentors at different stages of our lives, and sometimes the mentor will change, and sometimes the, you know, the relationships will switch about, but we always have purpose when there's story, because it means it gives our life meaning rather than just, we're just here. Hello.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's quite enlightening in itself, just recognizing that's all made up anyway, because it's what the meaning I give it to. So if I think like Violetta's like, oh, she's like my, I don't know what you call, would you say your mentor or coach to us in this group?
I think both.
In this group, I'm
Probably.
all.
So it's like, but that's only because I've given it the meaning, and then I've made a decision to join the group. Do you know what I mean? And it's like a collective story, isn't it? Where we're all participating, and it's good. It's not necessarily bad, but you could have another situation where it would be bad, for example, in codependent relationships or something, where two people have decided to join in a story, but it's not actually serving the whole.
Yeah, and that's exactly how it's like this double-edged word, that it can be used, the stories can be used for bad stuff too. But that's why it's so important that we understand that they are stories. And but I love the way you described it, and that's how it is. We get to choose the story when we understand, and we need the story for ourselves, because that story gives us meaning. It's our meaning of life, and why we live, and we really need that, because if we don't have that, we are lost. So I think it's important that one has their own story, their own visionary story of who they are and where they want to be, because that gives the meaning of life. But we get to choose it ourselves, and it's not so easy. It's sometimes really hard to choose. Yeah.
I'd like to share something. When you were drawing that way to the happy ending, if we can call it this way, you reminded me that those low moments to happy ending can be very low, and especially sometimes people look at me as, oh, you know, on the last challenge I had, 200 people registered. But I also know that in this spiral, I had a workshop when nobody came. I had a workshop where I've sold free tickets and nobody came from those free people. I had those lows, and it's funny because especially when we compare ourselves to that end vision, we often forget that it's good, we hit that low. That means that we've learned something and we can get even higher next time. And that was a very powerful reminder. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and that is so true, that every down, always you learn something, and that's why they are important too. And what would it be if it would be a straight line? We know where the straight line is. It's then we are dead. So we need that. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. That was really thought-provoking and very interesting to Reggie's nodding. I'm curious, what are your thoughts? Would you like to?
You know what? I listened to this studiously. It's well done, by the way, Misa. It's very, very good. Because once in a while in these events, you have a way of dragging me kicking and screaming into the universe and vibrations and positives and negatives, because I do dabble with the idea. I'm still getting to grips with it all. But the thing that I've taken down from this and I do like is recognizing where you've got the diagram behind you, the bit in the middle. What are you asking yourself? What are you observing? What are you identifying? And I just wrote down things like, because especially the last month has just changed some of the ways that I think, or the last 2 months. It's about what did you said about mentors and stuff. For me, I'm thinking about interventions. The universe sends you interventions, but you need to be paying attention. You need to be paying attention, because if you're not paying attention, it's gone. You've asked the universe for something, so at least wait for the answer. You know what I mean? And I think that's what's in the middle. So when Violetta was talking about having events and then no one turns up and you get an event with 200 people, I used to not distress myself. I used to beat myself up a lot about that stuff. But I don't now, because the reality is that the story I'm telling myself is I've put it out there. If people want it, they will have it. If they don't want it, then they won't have it. I'm not going to lose a moment's sleep about it. What I will do is observe what I observed and recognize what I recognize, and then take from it what I need to do to make it how I want it to be next time. That's the thing. And that's what we're talking about. You're talking about the calm earlier on when you talked about the calm. I can't remember where you wrote down. Inspiration comes from a calm mind. See, that's that kind of thing. So yes, I am paying attention. When it gets like this, I used to call it woo, but when it gets like this, I like to stop and question it and think about it, because I do like it, but I just need to know what I believe, if that makes sense.
Well, yes, and that reminded me also about, when something like that happens, we often think that it's about ourselves, it's about me, but it's not about you. It just is, like you said. Then you just, do some twisting with it. You make it a bit different, and then you try again, and then maybe somebody comes. So if nobody comes, it just tells something, but we often think that it's me, and they don't like me.
Ego, it's the ego that steps in.
Yeah,
ego. That's what it is. You're right.
Right.
You're right.
Yeah.
You wish you didn't ask now, Violetta.
No, it's very interesting. I totally love hearing all of your reflections. It was very powerful, Misa, and especially I wanted to thank you how nicely you managed time, and how you managed, that we could also give our input, our thoughts, and I need to say it also reminded me about stories we tell other people, that we need to remember about this happy ending, that even if we mention struggles, the happy ending is what drives them to watch the movie, because we don't like, as you said, we don't like the movies that end badly. I never watched anything like this. I'm the one that is hiding even when there is something dramatic or, you know, any blood there. No horrors or nothing like this for me.
Yeah, and when you're writing about, you know, when you're writing marketing stuff, when you're telling stories of your business, remember always the happy ending, because that's what they are looking for, the customers. So in those stories too, if you just put too much of the problem and challenges that they are facing, it's like the salt in the bread. If there is too much salt, it doesn't taste good.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day, everyone, and see you soon.
Take care all. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.